Hello, my friends. Very happy to be with you one more week to be talking about you and your health. And I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I'm trying to cover what I love to talk about. I love to talk about health. I like to talk about your health, your longevity, your well-being. And today, I'm going to be talking, as usual, about health issues that in many cases are very preventable. We just have to be aware of them. We just have to think of them. We just have to understand better how we function, how we work, how our bodies work, in order to understand what's happening. Because more and more, we're seeing health issues that affect more and more our younger people. It used to be that you go to the doctor when you're elderly, when you're old, at the end of your life, because you have this, you have arthritis, you have some symptoms, etc. And that was kind of normal. I mean, as you grew older, your chances of visiting the doctor were growing and you were having more and more health issues. However, that is not the case anymore. We're looking at a lot of health issues in young people that used to be only in the realm of older people. So what is happening? And to me, that's the worrisome issue. That to me is the problem. Not that we have this or that disease. The problem is we're looking at it in younger and younger people. Not only that, but we're beginning to see that the death rate in younger generation is increasing. We're looking at people that die before time. We're looking at people who die, they have a heart attack when they're in their 40s or 50s. People that have a deadly cancer in their 30s or 40s, or even children. So what are we doing that's taking us in that direction? And what can we do that is going to take us in the opposite direction? And that's what I want to talk about. That's what I always try to do. And again, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I beg you to follow me in on the social platform of your choice. You can go to Twitter, you can go to Instagram, you can go to Facebook, you can listen to programs like this at Spotify only if you search on Spotify, you just search for Truth Be Told Radio Network. And we have over 100 hours of programs like this that you can share, that you can discuss among your family and be together. And learn, hopefully learn something. And you don't have to take my word as an absolute truth. I'm open to your questions and I'm open to your comments. So as soon as you have anything that you'd like to know more, as soon as you have any question about a certain issue, feel free to question it. And again, if you go to any social media, if you go to our web page, if you go to Spotify, you will have the opportunity to do that. I just want you to follow me so we can keep on talking and reviewing things. And today I'm talking about an issue that is becoming very important because it is one of those affections that we're facing more and more frequently where we don't even recognize as a health issue. Many times we don't think of it as I have a problem. And if I don't accept, if I don't recognize that I have a problem, much less I'm going to look for help. You just say, well, I feel down, I don't feel good today, I'm not in the mood of, etc. So, but we don't say, I think I have a problem, unless it becomes very serious. And I'm talking about a very simple, frequent problem that many of you probably have already suffered from, and that's depression. We're going to talk about depression because it is very frequent, it's very prevalent, and again, is one of those conditions that we used to see in older people that we see now in a lot of younger and younger and younger people, including children nowadays. We're seeing a lot of people that develop this condition at a very young age, and again, we don't even recognize that they have a problem. And we're talking about this depression. Depression is by far the most prevalent mental disorders that we can see today. And according to the World Health Organization, is one of the most disabling because we don't feel good. We're filled with anxiety, headaches, fatigue. Fatigue is very common. We many times confuse depression with fatigue, but fatigue is very common, a very simple symptom. Gastrointestinal disorders. We're constipated, or we have cramps, or we have a lot of gas, and we don't relate it. We don't put the two together. Our central nervous system activity and our gut. But it is a fact. It is a very frequent problem. Weight changes. We start gaining weight or losing weight with no explanation whatsoever. And another very important factor that you have to take into consideration, watch for it, is sleep disorders. People cannot go to sleep or go to sleep and wake up immediately and cannot get back to sleep. That's an almost diagnostic symptom. You're very tired. You can hardly keep your eyes open in the evening. You go to bed. You are dead sleep, very profound sleep, and 2-3 hours later, you just open your eyes and you're wide awake. That's depression. Okay? If you feel very tired, go to sleep and wake up, and then you cannot reconcile your sleep, that is very, very possibly it's going to be a depressive condition. So when you have all these things, then you have to start thinking, what is going on? You see, it's very important that we listen to our body. Our bodies talk to us. They tell us things that are happening within us. They're giving us hints that something might not be working well. And as a good friend of mine always said, the older we get, the more talkative our bodies get. They're going to be telling us all the time, every day, any time, are going to be telling us something. The important thing is not how much our bodies talk to us, is how much attention we pay to those warnings. Because they're warnings. Our body is saying things are not as usual. Things are not going the same way as they have always gone. So you have to do something. You have to start finding out what is happening to me, because it might be important. How important can it be? Well, I have to tell you that depression is probably the most important factor in suicide. Now you're talking about death. Now we have to pay a lot of attention. We're talking about a very important symptom, a very important problem. So we have to do something about it. And the first thing we have to do is we have to identify it. We have to say, things are not right. You have all these disorders, you cannot go to sleep, you are anxious all the time, you're very fatigued all the time, you don't have any enthusiasm whatsoever, you're in a flat mood, you don't relate good to others anymore, you're changing your weight just recently out of nowhere. You see, in all the cases, I'm talking about symptoms that develop recently and with no explanation. And I was reading a book about depression, and it says that doctors should look very carefully. But you too, you should look very carefully when you find a symptom that you cannot really explain. If you have any symptom that you don't know where it's coming from, that's the time to sit down and think and see what might be happening, because the next step is, what are we going to do about it? We're not just going to sit down and let it go. We have to do something about it. And if we see it in our family, if we see it in a coworker, if we see it in a person that we love, then we have to think, have you noticed this? Have you noticed that your mood's changing? Have you noticed that you have this? Have you noticed that you're kind of sad and you don't have the enthusiasm, the same stamina you used to have? Yeah, but I'm very tired. But yet, there is not a real good explanation for fatigue. You go to work, you sit down on a desk, and you have done it for 20 years, and all of a sudden you're fatigued because you do the same thing you have been doing over 20 years? Something might be going on. Once again, we have to look for medically unexplained symptoms. If you have if it hurts an arm because you hit it, that's an explainable symptom. It hurts because I hit it. I fell. But if I have a symptom that I cannot explain, I don't know where it's coming from, that's the time to sit down and start being a little bit more analytic. Let's see what's happening. And then you have a few things that we have to talk about that are very important. One of them, for example, is that depression affects more women than men. And this might be connected with lifestyles, with hormonal activity, and so forth. Anyway, if you're a woman, watch twice what's going on with your life. And the problem is, many times you go to the doctor. The problem is, many times you go to a person you think they know you, they love you, and the answer is very simple. You need a vacation. Oh, you're working too hard. You need some time out. Oh, just relax. Go to the movies. No. Pay attention. Pay attention. Start thinking, I want to know what could be wrong. And you have a friend. You can go to the social media of your choice, send me a note. I'll be very happy to answer. I'll be very happy to guide you. So I want your questions, and I want to guide you, take you by the hand and guide you. I'll be back. My friends, I'm back with you, and we're talking about depression. We're talking about depression because it's the most prevalent mental disorder, neurological disorder that we see nowadays. We see it in many people, and we have two problems with it. It can produce a different type of symptomatology, so many times it's very hard to pinpoint. And in the other hand, which is even more serious, is many people don't even recognize it. And they don't recognize it as a health problem. So we need to do something about it. And the most important thing is, I have to be aware of any depressive condition, because it might be telling me about some other problem, a nutrient deficiency, a food problem, an intestinal flora problem, a neurological problem. What's happening with my body that I feel this way? You see, but you have to look for help, because help might be easier and closer than what you think. You have the social media of your choice, and you can look for me in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and ask a question. Doctor, I feel this way. Could this be depression? That's simple. Don't give me your name. I don't want to know anything about you. I'm not going to charge you, no strings attached. Just ask the question. It's very important, because if you ask the question, you might start taking action. And then you could say, okay, let's review what I'm doing with my life. What are the simple things to do? You see, where can I begin? Where can I begin today? Not tomorrow. I don't want to go to the doctor. I don't want to do any test. But I think I have some of these problems. So what should I be doing? My mood is bad. I have a lot of anxiety. I have sleep disorders. I have cramps and gases and problems with my tummy. I'm restless. I'm not interested in anymore in a lot of things I used to. I'm flat. My mood is very flat. I don't have any drive to do anything. I don't have any drive to go anywhere. Could that be depression? Well, put them together. And as you put them together, you're going to learn more and more of what you can be doing. Now, something that's very important is to understand that one of the most important underlying situations that is going to be producing depression is common to many diseases, and that is chronic inflammation. So, chronic inflammation could be the cause of our brains not working very well. And chronic inflammation is also the cause of other diseases, like high blood pressure, like Alzheimer's, like diabetes, like cancer, heart disease, vascular disease. All the common diseases that are killing us today have a foundation on chronic inflammation. So if you have any of these conditions, chances are that you might be having some depressive conditions as well. If you're diabetic, if you're high blood pressure, if you have anything of the, it could be explained by chronic inflammation. So anything we do to fight off chronic inflammation is going to help us to diminish the condition that we're talking about. So it is absolutely important that we keep all these factors in mind. And what I beg everybody to do is to sit down with yourself, by yourself, and be honest with you and say, how do I feel? What's happening to me? How am I functioning? And start asking questions. Do I have pains and aches? Is my blood pressure under control? Do I have any heart conditions? Have I been checked for diabetes? Have I been checked for this or the other? Do I have any swelling that I can look at? You see, when I talk about healthcare, I always say you have to start by what any pilot or any good driver would do. Do a walk around of your machine. If you're going to fly an airplane, if you're going to run a car, before you do anything, you walk around. You want to see if there is a flat tire, if there is a leakage in oil. That's what you have to do with your body every day. Look around. Are there any marks? Are there any bumps? Is anything wrong? Do I have any swelling in my legs? That's very common and very important. Am I breathing fine? Do I need many pillows? Because if I lay down flat, I cannot breathe anymore. I don't feel comfortable. Do I have any problem with breathing, with eating, with bowel movements? Everything. You see, it's just a walk around. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to use any machine. You don't have to use any equipment, any gadget, nothing. Just walk around your body and see if you have anything. And just like pilots or race pilots, do a checklist. This is fine. This looks good. I don't have a flat tire, means my legs look fine. I don't have any swelling in my ankles. I don't have any blue marks. I don't have any of those things that tell me that I might have some coagulation problem. You see, I don't have any red marks that might tell me about some inflammatory acute condition of the skin. That might be in turn telling me that something in the body is happening. So I move my bowels well, I do it regularly, I go and urinate very well, my urine is nice stream, and it's not smelly, it's not very, very yellow, it's light and clear and flows without any problem. All those things are very simple to think of. Very, very simple. And they're going to give us a good idea if there's something happening. Now, remember, we're talking of a condition that's very frequent, but it takes a lot to identify. You talk to people, and probably it's happened to you. You talk to some friends and you say, he's not who he used to be. He doesn't have the drive. Or you go and say, hey, we're going the weekend, we're going to be camping, beautiful weather, we're going to the lake. He says, no, not this time, I don't feel well. Okay, that I don't feel well is very in the clouds. It doesn't mean anything. Are you tired? Anything hurts? You have a problem? Are you coughing? You have a pain or ache? No, I just don't feel well. And once again, let me tell you, when you have a symptom that you cannot really explain, watch out. You have to follow it through. So you know something might be going on that I can correct. So, inflammation is a very important element behind depression. That's why anything that we can do to help chronic inflammation is going to help us to get over depression. So any inflammation strategy will be a key factor in getting back to a healthy condition. So this is absolutely important. Not only that, but anything we do to fight off chronic inflammation is going to help any other condition that we have, or even better, any other condition that might be on its way that still has not reached us. So you might be preventing a lot of things with that. So that is why it is very important for us to do this. And we have to talk about very simple remedies. And I want you to bear with me. I want you to be with me. Because when I tell you the strategies I have for you to fight off inflammation and chronic inflammation and be healthier, you're going to be surprised. You're going to say, oh, wow, never thought of that. Or I didn't think it was that simple. I thought I had to go to the doctor. I thought I had to do blood testing. I thought I would have to go to a psychiatrist and so on. No, you don't. The first thing you have to do is watch. See what can be wrong. The second thing you have to do is identify it as a foreign thing. It doesn't belong in your body. It doesn't belong in you. That's not you. That's not the person you used to be. So something has to be going on, and I have to identify it and start acting upon it. I have to start doing something for it, because if I don't do it, it's going to get worse and worse and worse, and I might end up going to a doctor and getting antidepressant and drugs and things like that, and my life will never be the same again. So let's think of very simple strategies that will take us from these health issues to a better health. Not only that, remember, I promise you, It's going to help you in every single part of your life, every single function of your body. So I want you to be with me. I want you to follow me. I want you to go to your computer. I want you to follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, on the whatever is your choice. We all do it every day. We all go to Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, whichever. Just follow me. BioCare or Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez. I'm there for you. And I want you to have an inquiry mind. I want you to ask, well, doctor, I heard of this, I heard of that. I just talked to a patient today and I was telling her about how to do chicken soup and things like that, because it's very important that we know how to eat. And I was telling her, well, yes, chicken soup is very good, but you have to do it this way. And I could see her eyes opening. And I didn't know where her mind was. But at the end of the conversation, she told me, you know what, doctor? Every single word you said today, I heard it from my grandmother many years ago. So, because there is no secret. Healthful living has to be healthy living. There's no other way out, no other way around. And we all have to learn about it. So I want you to follow me. I want you to go to the website, ask questions, and follow me, because you and I have a long way to go, and we're going to be very happy we did it together. Hello, my friends. Talking about depression, talking about conditions that we might have, and very importantly, we don't even recognize as a health issue. This is very important. It is very important because many of us might have symptoms that we cannot fully explain. We don't know where they're coming from. And in many cases, we're going to be given a very simplistic point of view and a very simplistic management. Or worse, we're going to be facing a lot of testing, and they're going to give us pharmaceuticals that, number one, they're not going to be very helpful, because let me tell you that in depression, pharmaceuticals are not very helpful. Can help some people, but they're not definitely the answer, because what we have to do is we have to understand where this depression, where this condition comes from. First of all, identify it. Know we have a problem. Second, act upon it. And then start to solve it. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. We're going to talk about, well, doctor, okay, you told me, I have looked at it, I have identified, yes, I have sleep disorders, yes, I have this problem, yes, I'm also diabetic or arthritic, yes, I have chronic inflammation, yes, I have a chronic infection, blah, blah, blah. Now what? Well, now what? Well, number one, we have to fight off that inflammation. We're going to start fighting off inflammation. We're going to make sure we're doing something within our reach, simple, to help inflammation. What produces inflammation? What we put in our mouth. Did you get it? Everything we put in our mouth can have a problem, can be an issue. Food on one hand helps us, nourishes us, but on the other hand could be harmful if we don't know how to choose our foods. So, number one, we have to be more careful about what we eat, how much we eat. And there are definitely substances that should never come into the human body. Tobacco is one of them. Tobacco is highly inflammatory. Any smoker is going to have a chronic inflammatory problem. Suffice to tell you that smokers have a lot more heart attacks than non-smokers, a lot more lung disease, a lot more chronic obstructive pulmonary disease than non-smokers. Why? Because inflammation. The other one, sugar. Yes, sugar. You think, well, but it's a food. You know, God really didn't make sugar. God made sweet things. But then we learn on how to pull out the sugars out of the foods and then how to turn it into white sugar. What's the problem with the color? The problem with the color is that most carbohydrates naturally produced are brownish. Look at honey. Look at raw honey. Look at wheat, at whole flour. Look at all those foods. They're all of them with a tint of brown. Why? Because they have a lot of chromium. And chromium is what God gave us to manage carbohydrates. Then we take it out because it's brown, and then we create white sugar and white flour, which is an unnatural food. And sugar in particularly is highly pro-inflammatory. And we have sugar everywhere, even in salty foods. Read the labels. Although let me tell you that to me, if you have to read the label of something, don't eat it. In my office, I have a basket of apples, and when people tell me I'm very careful, I read the label, I take an apple, offer it to my patient and say, can you tell me what is in this product? And they of course smile and they say it doesn't have a label. Then eat it. If it has a label that you can read, it probably comes from a factory. And foods are not an industrial product. They should come from the field. They should come from the farm. They should come from the ocean. That's food. The other thing are industrial products created by somebody that thinks he knows what we have to eat and profits from it. So be very careful, because it's your health that's at stake. So we have to do smart things. I'm going to give you the first one, and I want you to keep very much in mind. Omega-3s. What are omega-3s? Omega-3s are a type of essential fatty acid that's present typically, we all talk about it, in fish oil. If you're going to eat deep ocean fish, you're taking omega-3s. If you're eating salmon, halibut, swordfish, that type of fish, you're eating omega-3s. And if I gave you a tablet, you would say, doctor, how much, how often? Oh, you have to take 2 a day, every day for 3 weeks. Okay, I'm going to tell you about fish. You have to take 3 ounces of fish 3 times a week. But you have to get fresh, deep ocean fish and eat it a couple of weeks, 3 times a week, ideally. Because that's going to provide you with a lot of omega-3s. Where else do I have a lot of omega-3s? In liver. Although we don't eat liver except in England, but in America we don't eat it very frequently, but it's good for you to know. And the other one is raw nuts. What I mean by raw nut? By raw nut, I mean a nut that's in a shell, that you have in a basket, and that you're going to take your nut and you're going to crack it, and then you're going to eat it. If it's in a can, it's no good. It has been roasted and salted. And omega-3s have been destroyed by the heat. No, you need raw nuts. Get a basket, sit around, talk to the family, give a nut cracker to each one, and enjoy. Because you're going to be cracking your nuts, you're going to have a very nice conversation that's going to give you something to do. It's a get-together type of thing, and you're going to love it. That contains a lot of raw nuts, as long as you take it I mean, a lot of omega-3s as long as you take your nuts raw. Not roasted, not canned, not salted. That's going to be a very important thing. Omega-3s contains two very important essential fatty acids that I'm not even going to tell you because I have problems giving the whole word myself, and I'm sure it's going to sound like nothing, but you probably have heard of them. One is called the EPA for short, and the other the DHA for short. And those two oils that are in fish oil are very helpful, and it has been proven, for example, that only taking like 3 grams of the EPA every day or 1.5 grams of the DHA, which is more active, can diminish the symptoms of depression by 64%. That is a whole third of improvement by taking something that's a very natural food product. And of course you can go to the store of your choice and buy omega-3 fish oils in a capsule and take them. The label will tell you how much to take them. They can be very helpful. Do them. Remember your grandmother when they used to give you cod liver oil? Do it for your children. We had grandmothers that loved us. I remember my grandmother would line up all the grandchildren, and we were, oh, wow, oh, I hated it. Nevertheless, she gave us a spoon of the cod liver oil, and after that she would give us half an orange to bite on. That is very helpful. That is very good. That's something we have to do. There is another important factor, and that's what's called the circadian rhythm, that we neglect every day more because we have electric lighting. But we were created to be active during daytime and rest at night. But of course we're watching TV, we're reading, we're going to a party, so we don't follow the rhythm. And it is costing us a lot because it also produces inflammation. So we have to learn to respect these cycles and sleep better. And one product that can be very helpful is melatonin, because melatonin is also an anti-inflammatory. When we sleep, we get rid of inflammation. So a good night's sleep, and we all know it, is going to make us come out filled with strength and enthusiasm and good mood because of melatonin. Now, you can take melatonin. You can take it every evening, 7 o'clock in the morning. Some people say, doctor, I don't take melatonin because it makes me a little bit drowsy next day. Yeah, because you took it very late, like a sleeping pill at 10 o'clock at night. No, you should eat it in the beginning of the evening. Take it like 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock. You're going to have a good night's sleep. Melatonin is going to help you to reprogram those circadian rhythms and make sure that everything starts happening in the best way. Of course, the best thing you can do is go to bed when you have to go to bed. Turn off the TV, turn off the telephone. I see people all the time. They're on the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning. Is that more important than your own health? And of course, looking at the screen is going to block the melatonin your body is making. So you not only have it low, no, you only have it distorted, but you're also going against it yourself. You see, sugar, fish oils, melatonin, simple things to do. Simple ways to go back to health. Start doing it. You're going to be very, very grateful. You listen and follow it. My friends, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I have the privilege to be talking to you and trying to explain a little bit about a very common problem, which is depression. And as simple as it might sound, it is costing a lot. It is producing a lot of despair. It's producing a lot of problems. It's producing a lot of frustration. It's ruining a lot of people's lives. Because when you're depressed, it's an unexplained feeling. It's unexplainable. You just don't feel well. Everything looks gray. You have no drive to do anything. You don't look forward anything. You lost all your interest, and now you're just moved by inertia because you have to make a living, because you have to go to work, but you hate it. And the problem is you get home and you hate it as well, because you're not interested on TV anymore. You're not interested in what's happening anymore. You don't care about the garden. You don't care about anything. You just want to go and crash and collapse. Your mood is flat. It's not that you're just down. It's just that you're not interested in anything. And many of you might start looking for simple answers like, well, I work too much, or I do this, or I have nowhere to go, or nobody loves me, etc. And that kind of explains you what's happening. And then you go to the doctor, and many times the doctor tells you, well, it's all in your head, you need a vacation, you have to take time out, etc., etc. Which in some cases might be good, but it's not the full answer. And then we have something that we have used now for a number of years, which are antidepressants. And the problem is that the results with antidepressants are far from satisfactory. They're not satisfactory because people take them and then they say, well, you know, I take it and I felt a little bit better, but not enough, etc., etc. And then you see, for example, that you need another antidepressant to help the first one, or you have to change the medication because this is not doing the job, etc. And nevertheless, you just don't feel right. You just don't feel well. You just don't have a life ahead of you. And what I'm telling you is that there are very simple ways to do it. And you can start. But you have to comply. You have to follow through. You have to say, okay, I'm going to try it. Number one, I have nothing to lose. Number two, it's going to cost me nothing. It's going to be very simple. It's going to cost you peanuts. And I say that with a little bit of irony, because again, peanuts are also rich in omega-3s. But again, you have to buy them in the shell and crack them yourself with your fingers. You don't even need a nutcracker. And take them raw. And they're a very good food, but raw, not canned, not bagged, not roasted, not salted, not fried. See? Foods were created in perfection, just as our bodies. And what we have to do is take them as close as God created them as possible. And they're going to be good for you. So just follow the thing. So it is very important that we learn these rules. Let me give you another add-on to everything I'm saying. If you follow all these anti-inflammatory strategies, like we have said with the omega-3s, we try to get our rhythms back together and anti-inflammatory too by the use of melatonin and so forth. We're going to feel better. There's a factor that I'm kind of forgetting that I don't want to let out, which is vitamin D level, D3. And again, vitamin D3, melatonin, omega-3 fish oils, and you can go to any store and buy them and supplement them. And they're not a medication, they don't have any side effects. You're going to just do better with them. See? And then you talk to people and ask questions and so forth. But you know what? You need somebody that knows about this subject to talk about it, and you have a friend in me. So, drop me a question. Tell me what you feel. I already told you, unexplainable symptoms might be one of the reasons. You see, one of the symptoms that's letting you know you have a problem. So unexplainable symptoms, you have to get an explanation for them. And you can ask them. You can ask me, and I'm going to be very happy to answer you personally, no strings attached, and tell you, you know what, I think you should check this, I think you should do that. And in many cases, it's lifestyle changes that are going to change our life. Inexpensively, and with a lot of pluses. One thing, for example, we were talking about DHA to fight off depression because it fights off inflammation. Well, DHA also helps hormonal function. And many male patients tell me, doctor, what can I do to be better? DHA. And it is in fish oils. So there are many advantages. One good thing about doing natural medicine is everything you do is going to help a lot of conditions. Because many of the conditions that we have today have a common ground, which is chronic inflammatory disease, because of everything we do. Now, your problem is worse than that. You're getting to the point where you cannot work, you cannot function. Many people lose their jobs. And we have treated people that lost their jobs, that had a very fantastic career, they were doing very well, etc. And all of a sudden they don't know what to do. And many times it's their families that call me and say, what can we do? What can we do is BioCare. You have BioCare Hospital where you can come from a week for 2 weeks, 10 days, and get a whole program with a very important anti-inflammatory strategy, with stem cell therapy to rebuild things, to rebalancing of the intestinal flora. The intestinal flora is fundamental for our well-being, for keeping up our circadian rhythm. You probably don't know it, but I can tell you that our intestinal flora is active during the daytime, but it takes a nap, and it goes to sleep at certain hours. And it's important to know because that tells you how important it is. We are connected. We are connected to the world, and the sun and the sunlight, it's a very important influence in our life and health and well-being and everything. From vitamin D production to melatonin is produced because of effects of the sunlight. So all these things are very important to keep in mind. So when patients come down and we start cleansing and we start replacing the intestinal flora and we start doing stem cell therapy and we can do all these things for them and hyperbaric oxygen and targeted nutrition, we go after the nutrients we have found are deficient in that person, whereas could be vitamin D, could be digestive enzymes, could be a different vitamin, let's say, of the B complex, and these people start coming back to life. So all you do is you have a BioCare getaway. Just make a trip to BioCare Hospital for a couple of weeks and then you have a treatment. You have a very important, very proactive, very wholesome, very 24/7 type of approach to bring you back to health and make you function the way you felt before. So, any problems like that, mark your calendar and say, I cannot live with this anymore. I cannot handle it anymore. And I have this and I have the other, and I know where I'm heading. And I don't like that direction. I don't want to end up spending all my money in doctors and things and losing my job just because I cannot do it. You see? So what we have to do is we have to just mark the calendar and say, I'm going to have a BioCare getaway. I'm going to go somewhere where they can put everything I need to do together, have a fresh start, kickstart the new process, my new health process. And that's BioCare, believe me. So, in the meantime, I'm telling you things that are very simple, very inexpensive, most important, very efficient, that you can start doing right now. Supplements like vitamin D3, like melatonin, like fish oils, like these very simple things, magnesium, one of the biggest mineral deficiencies in America. Take some magnesium, very inexpensive. And the bottom line is, you are going to start getting control of your life. You are going to start learning about it. You're going to start educating yourself about health and disease. And you have to start applying all those learnings to your own body, to your own health. And when you do it, the rewards are fantastic. You're going to say, I'm so happy I followed through. I'm so happy I tune in. And nothing is by a chance. Everything is providential. And you're listening to this message because of a reason. Take advantage, and I will see you next time, next week.